Hello, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Dog Trainer. Today, I wanted to talk about how e-collar training can look different for different dogs that I work with. It's really interesting right now at this time. Uh, the dog I have in now is a little Frenchie named Nola, which you can check out her highlight. She has two actually on Instagram. She's a 9-month-old Frenchie who I shared about in the last episode. And she was just a little pushy with different things, some like resource guarding with her housemate. She just needed some boundaries put in place. So e-collar training is really helpful for that. I like to describe the e-collar as a boundary setter. So it's kind of like your training assistant, which is really nice. And then I'm getting another dog in tomorrow, which I cannot wait to share about this. It's my first ever scholarship recipient of the Cup of Joe scholarship. I don't know if anyone saw this, but I posted about it probably just once. I'm terrible at sharing about things multiple times, except like the e-collar starter guide, because it fits in very easily with things that I share usually. But I wanted to start something where I can offer the board and train to an owner who could really benefit from it. And I had a very particular owner and dog in mind. And I'm always trying to think of ways to honor my dad. And this podcast is one of them, which, by the way, before I forget, my little ode to my dad, I've got my cup of Joe. I'll wait for you to get yours. He used to say this. He had a podcast and he would say this in his. So kind of my little hello to him, which he would love so much. And so I was just thinking, what's a way that I could make a scholarship feel even more special and purposeful? And I thought of the Cup of Joe scholarship. And when I announced it on Instagram, I got about, I don't know, maybe 10 contact forms filled out. And if anyone's listening who filled it out and didn't hear from me, I'm so sorry. I haven't responded to everyone, and that is such a terrible business owner move. I think I was also it's weird when I talk about my dad's stuff and I get very excited, but then I kind of retreat inside about it because it makes me think about him and whatever phase I'm at kind of just brings up stuff. And but it was so interesting because the very first person who filled out the contact form felt like almost as soon as I posted it online was the perfect owner, the perfect dog. A lot of other people who filled it out, their dogs were not the particular kind of cases that I wanted to work with. I don't really want to work with dogs who have anxiety. Some people were way out of state, which is so nice. That used to be something on my list that I would write as a trainer when I got into training, that I was like, these would be signs that I made it. And one of them was people will travel to train with me. And what I've learned over the years is I prefer owners that are a little bit closer, just because if they ever need help, I can always, we can do a session together, or I do work with owners who have been out of state and it's worked out just fine. But I was like, someone from California, I don't know if we could do a virtual thing. But so this owner, I've talked with her on the phone. Her dog is a big, powerful breed, highly reactive. She's already e-collar trained him. She has my e-collar starter guide, and she's struggling with the reactivity. She's a student. I already adore her, and I'm so excited to meet her dog. And it was just like, I couldn't believe she was the first one to fill it out, and she was exactly what I envisioned. So she's dropping her dog off tomorrow. Can't wait to meet her. And then I have another dog who comes a week later, after the dog tomorrow, who is extremely fearful of people. So I wanted to talk through kind of my thought process about what e-collar training will look like with those dogs. It's like 3 very different dogs, but there's always what is it? The invisible line or something, that's Taylor Swift's song, invisible string. There's always an invisible string that's attaching, I think, all the cases I work with together with a link of e-collar training. And I know sometimes people get so caught up in, well, what if my dog is fearful reactive? Or is e-collar training right for him? Or what if a dog is highly fearful of things? How would you use the e-collar for that? And I do have some other episodes where I talk about that, but one, I'm trying to be more consistent with the podcast. It's a big goal of mine for this year because I always enjoy it and it's so easy to put off. And, but I really want to do one a week. So I was like, what can I talk about that would be helpful? And I'm hoping that this will be helpful. So first, okay, can I just tell you something real quick? I'm getting into crystals. If you're watching the video, you can see me holding up one. Anyone else into crystals? It is like my friends Heather and Corrine were telling me about it. And I'm very into like astrology. I am so open to all those things. I was talking to my friend Laura about it today, and we were like getting all excited. Loved hearing about her experiences with like readings and stuff. And I know some people aren't into this, but I am so in. I just went to a place by myself today and I picked some crystals that I was drawn to, and then I put it into ChatGPT for it to like tell me, how are these? I was drawn to these. Why do you think, based on everything you know about me? Oh my gosh, it's like I am so into all of it. I'm very excited. The one other thing I wanted to note real quick is I recently got a brick, which those of you who don't know, it's like a little square thing. It's a magnet. I have it on my fridge right now, and it helps you lock out different apps on your phone that you don't want to go on. So like right now, if you can see, I've been bricked for 1 hour and 6 minutes. I love doing it when I'm going driving somewhere because a lot of times I'll sit at lights and look at Instagram why do I need to do that at every single stoplight? I don't know. It's unnecessary. And so for me, as someone who shares a lot on Instagram and I enjoy going over there, but I also get sucked into scrolling, and I would rather put that time towards writing, which I love, or being creative and creating content or working on things that are in my head that I want to work on. And the brick, I'm not even kidding you. I am so obsessed. I think I've only had it like a week. And my favorite part of the day now is bricking my phone, which is what I call it, where I go over and tap it to the thing. It bricks it. It locks me out of the apps I don't want to go on. It makes me more intentional about when I go on because I still have to for my job. And I enjoy interacting with you all through messages, comments, that kind of thing. But I can't even tell you how productive I've been, how much lighter I feel, how much less my eyes hurt. They were hurting, I think, from looking at the screen so much. And it was really worrying me because I turned 40 last year in September. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to be a dog trainer sharing stuff online if I am having a hard time seeing my phone? That has almost gone away. It's like almost at the end of every day, I was feeling strained with my eyes. So anyway, I'm very excited because they gave me a code that gets you 10% off. Very excited about this. I've never had an affiliate code, so I'm super excited to share it with you. It will be linked in the show notes. So if you want one, take a look. If you have questions, message me on Instagram. And when I go on, when I am unbricked, I would love to tell you more about it. But it is one of the best things I have got for myself. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's dive into the different dogs. And then I have 3 questions that people ask me that I'm going to answer towards the end. And yeah, I hope this is helpful. If you ever have questions about what I share or if something resonated, please message me on Instagram, or I think you can do comments on this podcast wherever you're listening, and let me know what you think. Feedback is so helpful just to give me clarity on what resonates, what I should share more of, and helps remind me that I'm not just talking to my computer screen. Okay, so I shared a lot about Nola on the last episode, so I'm not going to talk too much about her because her stuff there's a lot of similarities. So I'm going to tie her into the 2 dogs that I have coming in. But I really want this to be like, I have these 2 cases coming in, these 2 dogs, and I get like an excited nervous when I have dogs that have severe reactivity and big time fear of people, because it's a behavior modification case. So what I mean by this is it's a more intense case. My program is still always 2 weeks. A lot of people probably don't agree with this, or it's just they would like more time. Like a friend of mine said she had one dog who, I don't work with dogs who bite people, but she worked with a dog who wanted to bite every human for 2 months because that's just what that dog needed and what they needed. I don't work with those kinds of cases. And I always like to tell other trainers that you should try different things. For me, the 2 weeks works really great. And I don't know if that's because of the owners I work with, how dedicated they are, um, my experience, like what I can get done in the course of 2 weeks. I only have 1 to 2 dogs at a time. So I have a pretty good amount of time to focus on them, which can be harder, I think, if you have more dogs to train and work with or boarding dogs. Um, and so for me, I have found that I can really give the owner a great head start with the 2 weeks. So I wanted to talk through what it will look like when I first get Azula, who comes tomorrow in, and I'll be sharing more. I'm so excited to share about her and her owner because um, I don't know, maybe because it's the first Cup of Joe Scholarship recipient. And I also love working with reactive dogs. I love working with owners who have already started using the e-collar, so I don't have to teach what the e-collar means. It's basically, my thought process is first, because she can be a little nervy with people. She is a guarding breed, so she might bark at me when I first meet her. So I'm already thinking, and I've talked to the owner um, on the phone and just kind of talking it through with her, how it will look, where I come out, I ignore the dog completely. This is very like opposite of what I used to do as a pet sitter. I just look back, if anyone's seen that trend online where it's 2026 is the new 2016. I don't understand that, but it made me want to look back on those 10 years ago when I was a pet sitter. I had just started my dog walking business, where I was getting my own clients separate from my friend who I was working for, who she already had an established business. So it was a really exciting time for me. But as a pet sitter, I never ignored dogs ever. Like that would be weird if I went in to meet someone and their dog and I'm going to be their dog walker and I just ignore them. That would be weird. Uh, with training, and when I first go out to meet an owner and their dog, if their dog is nervous of people at all, or if their dog is highly excitable, I completely ignore them. This is a very common thing with trainers. Um, and it almost always, sometimes an owner will be like, wow, I cannot believe she's not jumping on you. And it's not because I have these like mystical dog trainer powers, even though I'd love for people to think that. It's dogs respond really well to, uh, well, they feed off of what you give them. And this can be kind of woo woo, and it's not always this way. Like, I don't love when people tell owners who have super reactive dogs that pull and go all over the place to exude calmness because your dog picks up on it and they'll be calmer. I don't. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. I think it's not helpful to an owner who's really struggling. I think it is helpful to tell an owner whose dog is walking much better, and now it's the owner piece of it where you're still struggling with, the remnants of years of walking your reactive dog and bracing and always being hyper aware of what if another dog like that stays in your body and it's really hard to get over. So reminding an owner, check in with yourself, try to take some deep breaths. That is a whole other thing. But I do find that dogs, like a nervous dog who might be barking at me, would not love if I went over and tried to pet them out of it. It just doesn't work that way. It would make them more reactive towards me. So I found it's so simple and stupid to me, but so powerful. And actually, I think a lot of people don't think about this. The best thing you can do with a dog who's nervous of you and reactive or even jumping on you is just ignore them. And I find it's a pretty powerful little thing that you can do. So I'll walk out, I'll talk with the owner, I'll have her get the dog out of the car. I'm going to ignore the dog. We're going to go for a walk together and walk kind of separately. I got to feel the dog out. So the dog has not bitten people. Again, I don't work with dogs who have a bite history. All dogs are a bite risk. So that is always something to think about. But I'm not too worried about her lunging at me on the walk. So we're going to start walking. Again, totally ignoring the dog, talking to the owner, but keeping it calm. No like high pitched voices or being super loud. I don't know. So walk, and then I'll ask her to hand over the leash once I'm feeling like the dog is getting used to me being there and it's just not a big deal. I'll hold the leash. We'll keep walking, not make a big deal out of it. Walk back. The one thing that I'm thinking will kind of determine some things and how this looks is how she responds to me when she gets into her kennel. So again, I don't work with dogs who want to go after me and bite me. So one thing I told the owner, because expectations are really important to me, and this is a note for other trainers, always be clear about expectations. So, and this is just what I've learned over the years. So I'm going into my 9th year of being a dog trainer. So I feel a little bit more confident with this. It was harder early on where I was like, I just want an owner to think that I'm a good trainer and I can help them. So maybe I wouldn't be super clear about all the things, all like my trepidations about things, where now I would rather be really open about they're coming from Miami. So it's about 3-4 hours away. So I told her after the drop off, when I take Azula inside, I want you and your boyfriend to go to a coffee shop, just hang out for a bit so I can see how does she do when she's in the kennel. And I walk out of the room and then I come back in. The reason for this is one time, I've probably mentioned it on here, so I don't mean to repeat stuff, but it was a little black pitty and I missed the red flags on the contact form. I'm usually pretty good about picking up things and I'm like hypersensitive to stuff. So if I see something an owner says, and to me it's like, what, I needed to get more clarity on that, I'll hop on a call with the owner, which I normally don't do before I get the deposit for to hold a dog spot. I can tell a lot from the contact form. And most owners who fill it out already know me, or they really trust me from word of mouth or coming from Instagram and they've been following for a while. So, but with this dog, we lived about an hour away, and I got a sense from the little black pitty when I was working with him. And a couple of things the guy told me was they took her to a fair and she would growl at people, anyone that came close to them. I was like, like that's not always a terrible thing, but to me, what I should have asked was, has anyone ever come into your house when you're not home to get her out of the kennel? Because the answer is no. Because to me, a lot of times dogs who are nervous of you, if they lean more towards aggression, it can show up when you go into the kennel room because they're just like, what is going on? And if he got out of the kennel, he would have mauled me. That's the kind of the feeling I got. But I remember when I was working with him, and this is when trainers or owners, whatever, and I don't know if it's because I just turned 40, I am leaning hard into my gut, what it says, my intuition, paying attention to the little voice that's like, something feels weird. And sometimes that little voice can be like a really annoying one that's like, you don't look great today or whatever. So deciphering those is helpful. But with dogs, there are times where I get this feeling and it's different. And at the time, Bobby had just quit his job to work with me. So that is income from a board and train that we relied on. And I kind of like pushed those feelings aside, like, no, it's fine. But I got the sense that she could bite me. And she was a strong little pitty. I love pitties, but it's not like working with a Yorkie. A Yorkie I could hold out and it wouldn't be a big deal. I don't want to work with dogs who want to go after me. So I got this weird feeling when we were doing intro to e-collar in the house. She was very guarded and it was different than just nervous of me. It was like, if you make a wrong move, I'm going to go after you kind of a feeling. And I don't know why I cut it short, but I did the session short and I put her in her kennel. And then when I came back in about 10 minutes later, she was showing teeth. She was growling at me. It was just very intense. And I was like, I do not want to work with a dog like this. I called Bobby in because, again, I wasn't listening to my gut. And I was like, this is money that I want to make money through my job. If I have the owner come get this dog, I'm refunding everything. I'm not keeping the deposit because that is on me. That's my fault that I didn't catch those things. I didn't ask the right answers or questions. So it was a learning thing for me, and I have learned a lot. So to Azula, who comes tomorrow, I was very open with the owner about, if this happens and I am uncomfortable to work with her, I will ask you to come get her and we'll figure out something else. Maybe it's one-on-one sessions or something like that. But it's a very intimate thing when you are getting a dog out of the kennel and she's not coming on a muzzle. I don't work with dogs who are muzzled. I don't want to. I don't want to have to work through that kind of stuff. I think this is something as a dog trainer, you have to figure out what kind of cases you want to work with, what kind of cases you don't. There's actually a time where I reached out to a trainer friend of mine who lives here locally, and I went over there because I was really thinking, how can I grow in my business as a dog trainer. And I was thinking, well, maybe my brother who lives in Georgia, they have two dogs, and one of them is aggressive towards humans. She's nipped at a couple people, um, but she definitely feels like a major bite risk. And one time when they were down here, and my nephew Jack asked me, "Could you help? Could you help Odie? Like, could you train Odie to?" And that's all he said. Could you train Odie? And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is a sign that I should work with human aggressive dogs. And so I called to go over and see with my trainer friends. They're my friends, but they happen to be trainers. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I could work with human aggressive dogs. Could I shadow you when you have a human aggressive dog? And then the more we talked about it, the more I realized I don't want to work with human aggressive dogs. I can evolve in other ways in my business. Creatively is a big way that I feel like I've evolved. I've written a book since then, did the dog diary calendar, and that stuff I enjoy. So figuring out other ways to help owners, I don't have to just be okay working with human aggressive dogs. Anyway, okay, so with Azula, she's highly reactive. So figuring out that part, the initial day of her getting here, feeling it out, what that looks like. I hope that's just helpful insight wise. I know a lot of times on Instagram, it can feel like a highlight reel, and I'm trying to share more, but I also love sharing the highlights and the cute, nice moments because it is fun to share that stuff, because there are a lot of moments where it feels just really challenging. And I don't know. I was thinking about this yesterday when, like, I shared a story of we were out in the garage working out, and I've been loving sharing video footage on my phone where it's like the camera is this way and then I turn it and it's like wide angle, so it like gets in everything. It's just a different perspective. And it was me and Bobby smiling, and we were about to work out. And that morning, I had just like talked to him about like, "Oh, I'm feeling so disconnected from you," and um, we've just been really busy with our work, and I've been busy with dogs and feeling really creatively excited, but I've just been doing things that pulls a lot of energy, where at the end of the day, I'm just exhausted. And so yesterday in the morning, and we talked about it, and um, everything was fine after, and I felt so much better. But then I took that thing and I was like, oh, I didn't share about that other piece. It's just you don't see all those things. So I wanted to hopefully share this process with the dogs. That's not so much I'm working with them and telling you in hindsight what I've done, which I will do. I'm excited to share next week what's going on with Azula, but just like the process of what it can look like, and what if it doesn't work out? What if she's not a right fit for me? And that's a part of being a dog trainer. All dogs are so different, and that's kind of the excitement for me, though. I love drop off day because it's like, what is this dog going to be like? I know from the contact form what the owners told me, but how is it actually going to look? And that's exciting. So with her, I'm going to also do a video of maybe, probably not, definitely not day one, maybe day 2 or 3, where I take her out. And again, she is e-collar trained. So we're in the accountability phase. Those of you who have the e-collar starter guide, we are in the accountability phase. I'm holding her accountable for things. Her owner has done such great work laying all the foundation for me, and now I'm just helping her take it to the next level. So I really want to film a session where I take her out on a walk, and you can hear when I correct for reactivity and what that looks like. I shared a lot about that on the podcast. That will be exclusively in our video e-collar starter guide library, which is now separate from the e-collar starter guide. So you can get that on its own or with the e-collar starter guide. So I'll share on Instagram when that goes up. But I really want to share what a correction looks like. It is something I've been terrified to share in video for the last 9 years I've been doing this, because it can be so easily taken out of context. But the feedback I get over and over again is, I know you all are nervous to correct your dogs, and so I want you to see from start to finish in one walk what that looks like. She's a highly reactive dog, so her levels will be higher. I want you to see what it looks like, hear the timing, what I do, just so I think it will be reassuring for you in whatever capacity you need to correct your dog for something. It could be for barking, jumping, getting off of place. The other day I shared on Instagram with Nola about levels, and they were a bit higher for her, which is surprising. She's a little Frenchie. But she is very like, what's the word? She could care less about lower levels when she is intense about something. And so for her, it's like when we're on a walk and now she gets really intense, like wants to go say hi to a dog, but it's not like silly, it's like intense, which I think could turn into reactivity if we didn't hold her accountable for walking next to us in heel. She's super friendly, but she's 9 months old. Dogs, oops, they grow and they like, you know, they'll do what they want to do if they're allowed to. So I say I'm going to share that video, and I've been having this idea in my head that I really want to share that, and I'm partly nervous because I don't know, I've just never done it, and so I'm hoping it's helpful. So anyway, so I'll be sharing more with her, but how I'm approaching the board and train process with her looks a little different because I don't have to introduce the e-collar. I am going to address the reactivity in a meaningful way using the e-collar, and then expose her to stuff. I want to get her, look at Johnny on the couch. I want to get her outside of the dog park, just around as many distractions as I can to, the board and train is great because it helps me get to know the dog so much better, the triggers, what sets them off, what they do really well at, what they struggle with, so that I can best help the owner when we do our go home session, and then so the owner can just take it to a whole other level after the board and train. So I'm super excited to share about her. That's kind of my thought process with her. Similar things with structure, so structure is like place command, heel command, the kennel, downtime, and the owner's been doing all of that. So kind of just taking it to the next level. So she is purely accountability phase of e-collar training. And I hope any of you who are still struggling with reactivity, I just messaged with an owner today. I'm so grateful that I can share, the process of working with dogs on Instagram. It's so nice hearing from you that it's been helpful and just encouraging to you during your process working with your dog with the e-collar, or interested in it and want to see what it's like. So that is with her. Then the week after that is a dog who's highly fearful of people. And what it sounds like, and the owner told me, is it's really even hard to walk through their neighborhood because she just wants to run off anytime she sees a person. So for me, the intros are going to look similar to with Azula. Go for a walk together, feel it out, see how she does. E-collar is going to be so helpful for her as a fearful dog because we can take away the option of fleeing. So I worked with one dog, oh my gosh, and I forget the name. She was such a beautiful brindle pity shepherd mixed dog, and she was terrified of garbage trucks. Terrified. The most fearful I've ever seen a dog. She reminded me so much of a dog, Tonka, I used to work with, which is so funny how like dots kind of connect. And when I was looking back at 2016, those pictures, and Tonka was in a lot of those pictures. And so this dog reminded me so much because Tonka would freak out over anytime he would even hear a garbage truck, and he would dig his nails into the ground to get away from me. And he was a giant, I think over 100 pounds dog. And I'm not like a dainty little nothing, but it was like, oh my gosh. And I was just, hey, no. Oh, mailman. So I actually love Johnny's bark. This is very non-dog trainer of me. It sounds like he's been smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, and I kind of love it. Anyway, so this other dog reminded me so much of Tonka. And what helped the most was holding her accountable for heel and correcting for trying to run away, which can sound kind of like unfair to some people, or, well, she's terrified of that, why would you correct her? I wasn't correcting her for being scared of the garbage truck. That's something you can't, say no to. That would be unfair. I was correcting her for a command she knows, and this is why the commands are so helpful. This is why anytime I see I don't actually, I keep saying this, like I see trainers saying this, and maybe it just happens sometimes when I'm randomly looking through the search on Instagram, which I don't really do anymore since I got the brick because I'm more intentional and I'd rather see what the people I follow are doing. But I'd come across a trainer's thing and I would look maybe, and they'd say, you should never use the place command. It's unfair to a dog. And I'm like, all right, well, I try to be open minded, and then other times I just don't want to. I know it's helpful for owners and everyone can have their opinion, but the place command is the best command ever. And it's helpful for owners. It's also like well, loose leash walking. You don't need to say the heel command. And that's nice for some dogs and people, but it's also helpful for someone who could really benefit from having a clear boundary. They can tell their dog in any situation and then hold their dog accountable for it. Because that is really when you start to see changes, when you can actually hold your dog accountable for something that they know they should be doing, so that then they start to focus more on that job than everything else. It doesn't happen like all at once right away, but it's been so helpful with Johnny. He was so fearful of people, and I started holding him accountable for heel with the e-collar. And over time, the more we exposed him to people and things, he got better and better and better. It seems so weird to say, but I see it time and time again. I've seen it so many times over the last 9 years. So with the dog who's coming in the following week, my thing is introduce the e-collar. Tone is going to be so helpful. So the sound, because I find when I work, and I'll just do that probably in our backyard or inside the house, but I love doing it outside. One, it's beautiful weather in Orlando, and this is my favorite time of year to train dogs. And tone is a sound. We start to teach it in a way where you pair the tone, the sound, with the e-collar stim. So stim, short for stimulation, because it's a muscle stimulator, similar technology. Stim corresponds to levels 1 through 100. So usually it's like a lower-ish level when I'm first pairing it with tone. We actually have a video on this in the e-collar starter guide video library. So take a look at that. It's with Taco. Taco, is that right? Yes, I think so. I think so. Johnny. Hey. No, sir. So, oh my gosh, what was I say? Okay, so tone. So teaching what the e-collar means, so that then the great thing about teaching tone as one of the first things you teach your dog with the e-collar, the reason I love this is then you can use it on the walk. So it's one thing to correct a dog for reactivity or for fleeing instead of walking with you. But then I think the most important piece a lot of people miss is giving clarity on what you want them to do after that. Because when you correct for something, and if the intensity of whatever is going on with that dog at the moment, the reactivity or the like, and they just want to like run away, that's intense. That's a very intense reaction you're getting from the dog. Your levels on the e-collar usually need to match that. They're usually a bit higher. Higher can be different for every dog, but then it can feel a little like chaotic a little bit because the dog will be like, what was that? So then you have to show them, this is what I want you to do instead. And when you've been practicing tone, that tone means come to me, come with me. You've been practicing it. Then on the walk, it's not just this thing out of nowhere. It is clarity. It is a tool that helps you show the dog, okay, now that you can't do this, here is what I want you to do instead. And most of the time in moments like that, dogs don't want treats. I really try to move away from using treats with dogs or food with dogs because I don't want to encourage more excitement. Most of the dogs I work with are just highly excitable about stuff, and I don't want to add more fuel to the fire. That's how I think of it. And also dogs that are highly fearful could care less about food. Johnny is a great example. When we're around people, like when we take him to the farmer's market, he could care less about the treats that he loves all the other times when he's very comfortable. So I'm not trying to shove treats down his throat. It's not that important. It's not helpful when you're trying to do that. So with the dog who's fearful, the first day, 2, 3, who knows, might just be in our house, low key, taking it slower. Sometimes with fearful dogs, for me, it can look like not going for walks outside because, again, they're a flight risk. So I would rather create like a relationship with them And basically the relationship is I'm a safe space. You don't have to be nervous of me. And that could look like one thing I love to do with nervous dogs, just walk with them around the pool with a leash on. She'll have the leash on probably for a bit, just so I can, for safety purposes, because she is a major flight risk. And that to me is something I mean, of course I take seriously, but I take everything seriously. But stuff like that, just taking it slow. That's what I think of as taking it slow, where it's not like we're going straight out onto a walk. Like with Nola, I didn't have to do that. The little Frenchie, she was already happy-go-lucky, very wiggly, liked me right away. So I was excited to get out on the walk with her and start working right away. With a dog who's like that, who's coming in a few weeks, who's highly fearful of people, it will look different. And that's where I think sometimes whenever I get asked the question, like my dog is fearful reactive, or it's always the fearful or the anxious or something like that, where people are like, is e-collar, I don't get why e-collar training can be helpful, because it is a tool that can help you guide your dog in so many moments where they're nervous. And like Johnny, it was life-changing for us with him, because I was able to, one, say no to fleeing, which could turn into him running away from us, or it's just, I wanted to take away that option and then show him, this is what I want you to do instead. Encouragement with the tone. So I described tone the other day as like the green light. So it's the sound. So when you get your mini educator e-collar, you have to change the vibrate button. It comes as vibrate to tone. You can look that up on YouTube. I'm sure I have some videos, but easiest thing, look it up on YouTube. It's very easy. And when I pair that with, let's go, come with me, like with Johnny, if we're walking, if he gets really like distracted by a guy that comes from around the corner, I can tap on tone, let's go. He knows, I've heard this before, I know it means come to you. It's not so, we're not trying to avoid the situation, but I'm trying to encourage him in that moment, like, let's go, keep it moving forward. Where with the stim button that corresponds to levels 1 through 100, whatever that is for you, based on the situation, based on your dog, it will always be different. It's always fluctuating, moving, changing. That is more like a boundary setter. So that's like if my dog Louie, who I did it with last week or something when I took her on a walk, she's very nervous of people. So she's constantly like looking back, and like it just feels like it's freaking her out more the more she looks back. So I use the stim button as a way to interrupt that. So because we're walking, if she looks back, no, give a tap on the red button. For her, for something like that, it usually doesn't have to be a higher level. For her, maybe it was like 15, 20, I don't know. She's a big German Shepherd. Just as a way to interrupt that so that it keeps her moving forward. And I found that to be super helpful for her, to help her be less anxious, less neurotic when she's around things that make her nervous. She is still a dog who will be like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? And I don't mind that so much. I can't address every single moment. And she is just a very particular dog who's just different. So that's something to take into account too. But I also can use the e-collar to help her keep moving forward. A lot of times on the walk, that can do a lot. That can make a big difference for a dog who's nervous and constantly looking back. So red button that corresponds to the stim is more of a boundary setter. Hey, stop, pay attention, come to me. Don't do that. It could be come to me. But tone is more green light. So the stim button, red light, boundary setter. Tone, green light, let's go, encouraging, move with me. Okay, we're at 38 minutes. So that's kind of my thought process behind the different dogs over the next few weeks. I'm really excited to share more about them, what's going on. I will share, I'm very open about whatever's going on the podcast. It's a space where I feel safe to share all the things. Instagram is great. I love sharing stuff there, helpful tips and things like that, especially in my stories. But I like share. I can share more that gives a very full picture of the why behind what I'm saying on the podcast. So I'm excited to share about the reactive dog that's coming in, and then the human fearful dog. I actually love working with fearful dogs. It feels like a slower process with like in regard to not benefits, progress, but it's also over the years helped me slow down and just try to be more present with the dog. And I know going into it, this is going to take some time. Progress could look like she doesn't freak out when I come into the kennel room or something, and that could be not until day 4. It's just, it takes time and it helps me slow down, which I actually appreciate. So that's what's going on with the dogs. I hope that's helpful and kind of gives you a peek into what e-collar training can look like with each. But I'll use the e-collar with all of them. I mean, I only work with dogs who would, I'm going to use the e-collar with. I don't work with dogs who I don't use the e-collar with. So I'm not a good example of, does every single dog need e-collar? I have no idea. I got asked that the other day on a live, and I just don't know. But my experience is every dog I've worked with has benefited from using it. And better yet, the owners have benefited highly from the e-collar training. Okay, so these are the 3 questions I got. I was going to answer, and then we'll head out. Do you always use the word no with stim, like with interrupting whining? Mostly yes. So when I am working with a training dog, I'm trying to pair the e-collar with whatever command, mainly no, with the e-collar as much as possible, so that then at the end of the 2 weeks, I can start to say no on its own without the e-collar, and it means so much more. It's like loading the no word. And then when the dog gets home with their owners, I always encourage them for like the first week at least, try to follow through as much as possible, or at least the first few days with the e-collar when you say no, so that you also are someone that they look at as, oh yeah, she means business. I can't be pushy with her like I used to be. I find that's really helpful. So for me, I'm always thinking about how to help the dog really understand what I'm asking. But then when they come back, a lot of times when dogs come back for boarding, I don't have to use the e-collar as much with them, and it's really great, which to me is feedback that it's all been very helpful and owners have been consistent, and you can always get the remote and pair it with no if you need to, if your dog is being pushy. So, but yes, I always try to, just because I'm always thinking I want the dog to really understand that what I mean is stop doing what you're doing, and I'm not just bluffing with my words. If a dog needs to go potty badly when going outside, do you still make them heel before that? So it's not always like this strict, and I always get a feel for the dogs. Like there are sometimes I've walked a dog where I thought they were being pushy to go sniff the tree, and I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. And I'm holding them accountable for heel, and then they poop in the street. So it's just, you kind of learn a dog's cue and what they need, and you kind of get into a habit and a routine of when they'll go potty. Like with Nola, I have her wait at the front door. We go out the front door. I say break right away because she's 9 months old. So she's a little younger, and I want her to go potty right away. So I'll say break, go potty. And then when she goes potty, tap on tone, heel, or let's go, and we start walking. So it just depends on the dog. I think I would rather say no to pushy behavior, and if your dog tries to like pull you towards the tree and you say no and walk a couple feet and then say break, it seems so silly. But I would get into the habit of that, because it's very easy for an owner to just let their dog start to let those bad habits creep back in. Where I would prefer, if you saying break to go potty, it came from you. The permission, whatever you want to say, to go potty comes from you. That's a really powerful moment. That seems small, but it makes a big difference. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that. How to deal with people's judgment of my dog wearing a muzzle. So this is hard because it's a very, it's a you thing. It's like, recently I posted a carousel graphic to Instagram that, oh man, like it resonated so much with so many of you. So many similar comments like, I feel seen. Thank you for validating our feelings. This is exactly me and my dog. And the graphic was, oh, and I'm locked out of Instagram, but it was, we should give more credit to the owner with a reactive dog. And that was like the line on each one. And then after was stuff like, even though you know the walk is going to be overwhelming, you go out on the walk anyway, or things like that. And so I know that there's an undercurrent of you worrying what people think. So either if it's your dog wearing a muzzle or reactivity, those are just feelings that you have to kind of go through. And one mantra I love to say to myself is it's feedback, not a setback. So that's like a personal thing because I used to get really self-conscious that if I had a dog who was being pushy, and let's say if I'm around other trainer friends, and I used to be really self-conscious about, well, what if the dog I have is being pushy? They're going to think I'm a terrible trainer. And so I don't feel that way anymore. But when you're newer to it, or it's just you and your dog, and your dog has to wear a muzzle, and that hasn't been the norm for you. Your friends' dogs don't have to wear muzzles. It can feel very isolating. It can make you feel bad. Coming up with little mantras, I think, are helpful. But also keep in mind, whenever I see an owner with a dog with a muzzle, to me, the first thing I think is go you. Like, I think you are doing a great job. To me, it's a sign that you are being proactive with your dog. It's the same thing I think when I see an owner with a dog with an e-collar on or with a prong collar on. My immediate thing is you're trying to help your dog be at your best. That's what I think. I don't really think go you. I think more like, oh, that's amazing. Like you are trying to help your dog be at their best. Maybe that's a good little mantra you can say to yourself. But it's like anything, like I used to struggle so much with people's perception of me. And I swear on my life, I don't know if it's because I turned 40, but my perception of things have changed. And I don't know if it's going through the really hard stuff with my dad passing away. I don't know if it's because I'm going into my 9th year of being a dog trainer and working with so many dogs who need me to set boundaries for them, and getting a really thick skin where I don't think twice about telling someone, no, you can't pet my dog, where you might feel really bad about that because you haven't had to do it as much. So I think the more you do it, the easier it gets, but that's kind of not very helpful. It's just always hard. But I think actually, because when I think back on the times when I was really nervous about what people thought of me, and I look back on that version of myself, I think about how strong she was. And this is also me talking to you. I think it's very human and normal to feel like people are judging you. I think so many of us, though, out here actually think you're doing a great job and see you with your dog with a muzzle and think, damn, like that is amazing. You are doing what's best for your dog, and we know it's not easy. I think there are a lot of us out here who may not say anything to you, and I wish that I could walk in your neighborhood and when I see you, give you a little air high five. So please know that we can't, some people just don't know. Some people have never had a dog who had any issues. It's like if you get a dog who's reactive, you've never had a reactive dog. Well, that's totally new. It feels jarring and like you're the only one. And just think back on your life as a person, all the times where you felt like people were judging you for how you looked, what you were wearing. If you were in a group of friends in school and people were whispering and you thought, oh my God, are they talking about me and my big zit on my forehead? We're all going to have moments like that. I think sometimes it's nice and it's hard in the moment. But when I look back, I wish I would have looked at those moments as like opportunities for growth. Because if you can feel confident, and it's not just something, you don't have to fake it. It will come with time. But I think if you can really tap into that part of yourself where you are like, I am doing what's best for my dog, and that's good enough, that will trickle into the rest of your life. I'm a much more confident version of myself because of working with dogs that needed me to set boundaries for them. I just am. I was never that person before. I was a people pleaser. I still have those traits, but working with dogs who weren't like the picture of Lassie or the sweet golden retriever or whatever the picture is you wish your dog was, or the dog you've had before. The challenging dogs have really taught me the most about myself. So I think your dog could do the same for you. I think the intertwine between dog training and human stuff is just so connected. And once you start to see that, it's usually looking back on it. It's a pretty empowering thing. So also I'd recommend reading my book, Dear Owner. Have you seen it? My word for the year is audacious. So to me, that means, what's it called? Getting out of my comfort zone. I don't love promoting myself and things I've done, but I am very proud of this book, and it's all about exactly what I was just talking about with you. The human side of things, the life things that intertwine with the dog things and having a challenging dog. So I think this will be really helpful for you. So a couple other things I did with my word audacious in mind. If you haven't come up with a word for the year, highly recommend it. I keep coming back to it anytime I overthink something, or I'm like, ugh, is this cringe? Or what will someone think of me? Or will I be rejected? And I come back to my word audacious and I'm like, go for it. I reached out to a brand for like a paid collaboration opportunity, which I've never done, never asked for. I always thought people just come to you. And I was like, if my word is audacious, get out of your comfort zone, message them, and who knows what will happen. I also reached out to someone else, another dog trainer who has a podcast, and asked if I could come on his show and talk about Dear Owner and how I love talking about the emotional side of dog ownership, not just the training stuff. And I was nervous too, because again, we're all nervous of rejection, nervous of walking our dog with the muzzle and worry what people think. It's all very related. And I was nervous, but I was like, my word is audacious. So I'm going to get out there and reach out. And he reached back out and he was so kind. So anyway, you're doing great. You are doing what's best for your dog. And a lot of us see that. A lot of us think you're amazing. And a lot of us feel connected to you because of it. So I hope that helps. That is like the longest answer ever. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. I've been holding this crystal and I love the feeling of holding it. It's very like, what? It's very relaxing and love it. Okay. If you have any questions, please message me on Instagram. If you'd like to let me know that you listened and it resonated with you, that means so much to me. Literally, it makes me so happy. You have no idea how long those messages stay with me. And I take screenshots and add them to my grateful calendar folder on my phone so I can go and like check them anytime I'm having a bad day or feel like nobody's listening. Why does anyone want to hear anything I have to say? So thank you so much. It means a lot. Or if you have questions, please message me on Instagram. Let me know you came from the podcast because that lets me know you're doing your part, you're trying to learn more. And if there's anyone I love helping with like dog training questions or human questions, whatever, it is people who listen to the podcast because you all are my people. Okay, everything that I mentioned and our resources to help you make this next year the best yet will be linked in the show notes. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.